A little boy got on the bus, sat next to a man reading a book, and noticed he had his collar on backwards. The little boy asked why he wore his collar backwards. The man, who was a priest, said, "I am a father." The little boy replied, "My daddy doesn't wear his collar like that." The priest looked up from his book and answered, "I am the father of many." The boy said, "My dad has 4 boys, 4 girls, and 2 grandchildren, and he doesn't wear his collar that way." The priest, getting impatient, said, "I am the father of hundreds," and went back to reading his book. The little boy sat quietly thinking for a while, then leaned over and said, "Maybe you should wear a and put your pants on backwards instead of your collar." A doctor wanted time off to go hunting, so he asked his assistant to stand in for him. "Seamus, I am going hunting tomorrow. I don't want to close the clinic. I want you to take care of the clinic and take care of my patients." "Yes, sir," answers Seamus. The doctor goes hunting and returns the following day and asks, "So, Seamus, how was your day?" Seamus told him that he took care of 3 patients. "The first one had a headache, so I gave him Tylenol." "Bravo, and the second one?" asks the doctor. "The second one had stomach burning, and I gave him Maalox, sir," says Seamus. "Bravo, bravo, you're good at this, and what about the third one?" asks the doctor. "Sir, I was sitting here, and suddenly the door opened, and a woman entered. Like a flame, she undressed herself, taking off everything, including her bra, her pants, and lied down on the table. She spread her legs and shouted, 'Help me! For 5 years I have not seen any man.'" "Thundering Lord Jesus, Seamus, what did you do?" asks the doctor. "I put drops in her eyes." An elderly man was stopped by the police around 2 a.m. and was asked where he was going at that time of night. The man replied, "I'm on my way to a lecture about alcohol abuse and the effects it has on the human body, as well as smoking and staying out late." The officer then asked, "Really? Who's giving that lecture at this time of night?" The man replied, "That would be my wife." A man was tired of being bossed around by his wife, so he went to see a psychiatrist. The doctor told him, "You don't have to let your wife push you around. Go home and show her who's boss." So the man left the psychiatrist's office full of confidence and determination. He stormed into his house, slammed the door, marched right up to his wife and said, "From now on, I'm in charge around here. I want dinner on the table right away. Then you're going to lay out my best clothes because I'm going out with the boys tonight. And you're staying home where you belong. Oh, and one more thing. Do you know who's going to tie my bow tie?" His wife looked at him calmly and replied, "Yes, the Undertaker." A woman went to see an old fortune teller and said, "Sir, I want to see my future." The old man adjusted his glasses and said, "All right, take off your clothes and lie down on the bed." Shocked, the woman gasped, "Wait a minute, you just want to sleep with me." The old man chuckled and said, "Well, look at that. You can already predict the future." A guy goes to a female dentist to have a tooth extracted. She pulled out a large syringe to give an anesthetic shot. "No way, no needles. I hate needles," the man said. So she started to hook up the nitrous oxide tank, and the man said, "I can't do the gas thing. Just the thought of having a mask on my face suffocates me." The dentist then asked the patient if he had any objections to taking a pill. "No," he says, "I'm fine with pills." The dentist gave him 2 little blue pills, and he swallowed them. "What are those?" he asked. "Cough," she replied. "I'll be damned," said the patient. "I didn't know cough worked as a painkiller." "It doesn't," said the dentist, "but it will give you something to hold on to when I pull your tooth." Chinese patron. "All the tables here are set with forks and knives. Where are the chopsticks?" Waiter, "There are no chopsticks." Patron, "But you're a Chinese restaurant. You must have chopsticks." Waiter, "No chopsticks." Patron, "If you set chopsticks instead of forks and knives, you can save a lot of time in washing up." Waiter, Very true, but then we spend 3 times as long cleaning up the mess. After a girls' night out, a wife comes home late at night and quietly opens the door to her bedroom. From under the blanket, she sees 4 legs instead of 2. She reaches for a baseball bat and starts hitting the blanket as hard as she can. Leaving the covered bodies groaning, satisfied, she goes to the kitchen to have a drink. As she enters, she sees her husband there, reading a magazine. "Hi, darling," he says. "Your parents have come to visit us, so I'll let them stay in our bedroom. Did you say hello?" Little Johnny was sitting in class one day. All of a sudden, he needed to go to the bathroom. He yelled out, "Miss Jones, I need to take a piss." The teacher replied, "Now, Johnny, that is not the proper word to use in the situation. The correct word you want is urinate. Please use the word urinate in a sentence correctly, and I will allow you to go." Little Johnny thinks for a bit, then says, "Urinate, but if you had bigger tits, you'd be a 10. One night, little Johnny barged into his parents' bedroom without knocking. He froze for a second, watching in shock, then pointed at his mom and blurted out, "Oh wow, you can put anything in your mouth, but when I suck my thumb, I get scolded?" His mom was speechless, but from under the covers, his dad muttered, "Well, at least he's not wrong." There are these 3 girls and their boyfriends, all have the same name. So in order to keep them from getting confused, they decided to give their boyfriends nicknames. So they asked the first girl what she called her boyfriend, and she says, "I call my man 7-Up." They ask her, "Why do you call your man that?" She says, "Because he's 7 inches long and is always up." They ask the second girl what she calls her man. She says, "I call my man Mountain Dew." They ask, "Why do you call your man that?" She says, "Because he likes to mount me and to do me." They ask the third girl the same thing and she says, "I like to call my man Johnny Walker." They look at her puzzled and say, "Why do you call your man that? Johnny Walker is a hard liquor." She says, "Exactly." Every year, Bill and Helen, an elderly couple married for decades, went to the county fair. And every year, Bill saw the same thing, a helicopter offering rides for $50. And every year, he said the same thing, "Helen, I'd really love to ride that helicopter." But Helen would always shake her head and reply, "Bill, $50 is $50. This went on for 3 years. Finally, on the 3rd year, the helicopter pilot overheard them. He chuckled and said, "Tell you what, I'll give you both a free ride, but there's one condition. If either of you makes a sound, just one peep, you'll have to pay the 50. Bill and Helen looked at each other, nodded, and climbed aboard. The pilot took off and did everything he could to shake them. Dips, dives, barrel rolls, sudden drops. Still, not a single sound came from the back seat. When they landed, the pilot turned to Bill, genuinely impressed. "Sir, I've been doing this for years, and no one has ever stayed quiet through all that. You've got some serious discipline." Bill smiled and said, "Well, I almost said something when Helen fell out, but $50 is $50. The only way to pull off a Sunday afternoon quickie with their 8-year-old son in the apartment was to send him out on the balcony with a popsicle and tell him to report on all the neighborhood activities. "There's a car being towed from the parking lot," he shouted. He began his commentary as his parents put their plan into operation. "An ambulance just drove by. Looks like the Andersons have company," he called out. "Matt's riding a new bike. Looks like the Sanders are moving. Jason is on his skateboard." After a few moments, he announced, "The Coopers are having love." Startled, his mother and dad shot up in bed. Dad cautiously called out, "How do you know they're having love?" "Jimmy Cooper is standing on his balcony with a popsicle." A well-dressed man walked into a small hotel and politely asked the manager, "Is room 39 available tonight?" The manager checked. "Yes, sir, it's free." "I'd like to reserve it," the man said. "And one more thing, I'll need a black knife, a 39 centimeter piece of white string, and one orange, exactly 70 grams. The manager raised an eyebrow but agreed, curious about the odd request. The man went to his room quietly. He didn't order food, didn't ask for Wi-Fi, didn't request towels, nothing. But after midnight, strange noises came from room 39. Wild animal sounds, clanking metal, whispers. It was like a jungle and a kitchen had collided. The manager stayed up all night, wondering what on earth was going on. But in the morning, when the man checked out, room 39 was spotless. The orange, the knife, and the string were all untouched on the table. A year passed. Same month, same man, same room, same requests. And again, the same bizarre midnight chaos. The manager, now losing sleep and sanity, was determined to get answers. On the third year, when the man came back yet again with the exact same routine, the manager finally asked, "Please, I have to know. What's happening in room 39? I won't tell a soul. I promise." The man leaned in and said, "If I tell you, you must never share it with anyone. Swear it." "I swear," the manager said, heart pounding. And so the man told him the secret. To this day, the manager hasn't told a single person what he heard, and I respect that. But when he finally cracks and tells me, I'll be sure to let you know. Until then, I'm off to confuse someone else with this story. Tag a friend and don't break the chain. They need to be just as confused as we are. I was stopped by the cops in a control, and one of the officers was convinced that I was drunk. I had to answer some questions which would determine whether I was under the influence or sober. Cop: "If you are driving on a road and see two lights, what is it?" "A car, I think," I replied. "Okay, but is it a Chrysler, GM, or Buick?" "No clue," I replied. "You're drunk," he said. I shook my head slightly, being caught off guard. "But if you meet one light, then?" he asked. "Probably a motorcycle," I replied. "Okay, but is it a Honda, BMW, or a Suzuki?" "No clue," I replied. "You're drunk," he said again. Now I was a little angry and asked the arrogant officer a question. "If you see a woman at a corner with fishnet stockings, miniskirt, high-heeled shoes, and lots of makeup, what can it be?" The cop said, "It is, of course." "Correct," I replied. "But is it your wife, daughter, or mother?" They seized my driver's license. A Kentucky teacher was quizzing her students. "Johnny, who signed the Declaration of Independence?" He said, "If I know." She was a little put out by his swearing, so she told him to go home and to bring his father with him when he came back. Next day, the father came with his son, sat in the back of the room to observe. She started back in on her quiz and finally got back to the boy. "Now, Johnny, I'll ask you again. Who signed the Declaration of Independence?" "Well, teacher," Johnny said, "I told you I didn't know." The father jumped up in the back, pointed a stern finger at his son, and said, "Johnny, if you signed that thing, you well better admit it." A big game hunter went on a safari with his wife and mother-in-law. One morning, while still deep in the jungle, the hunter's wife awakened to find her mother gone. She woke her husband, and they both set off in search of the old woman. In a clearing not far from the camp, they came upon a chilling sight. The mother-in-law was standing face to face with a ferocious lion. "What are we going to do?" his horrified wife asked. "Nothing," her husband replied. "The lion got himself into this mess. Let him get himself out of it." A young guy from Missouri moves to Florida and goes to a big, everything-under-one-roof department store looking for a job. The manager says, "Do you have any sales experience?" The kid says, "Yeah, I was a salesman back in Missouri. Well, the boss liked the kid and gave him the job. You start tomorrow. I'll come down after we close and see how you did. His first day on the job was rough, but he got through it. After the store was locked up, the boss came down. How many customers bought something from you today? The kid says 1. The boss says, just 1? Our salespeople average 20 to 30 customers a day. How much was the sale for? The kid says, 37.65. The boss says, 100. What the heck did you sell? The kid says, first I sold him a small fish hook. Then I sold him a medium fish hook. Then I sold him a larger fish hook. Then I sold him a new fishing rod. Then I asked him where he was going fishing and he said down the coast, so I told him he was going to need a boat. So we went down to the boat department and I sold him a twin-engine Chris Craft. Then he said he didn't think his Honda Civic would pull it, so I took him down to the automotive department and sold him that 4x4 Expedition. The boss said, a guy came in here to buy a fish hook and you sold him a boat and a truck? The kid said, no. The guy came in here to buy tampons for his wife, and I said, dude, your weekend's shot. You should go fishing. A Chinese doctor moved to the US, but couldn't land a job at a hospital. So, he decided to open his own little clinic and hung a sign outside that read, get treatment for $20. If not cured, get $100 back. One day, an American lawyer saw the sign and thought, easy money. So he walked in. Lawyer, Doc, I've lost my sense of taste. Doctor, nurse, bring medicine from box number 22. Put 3 drops in the patient's mouth. Lawyer, ugh, that's kerosene. Doctor, congrats, your taste is back. That'll be $20. Annoyed but not giving up, the lawyer returned a few days later. Lawyer, I've lost my memory. I can't remember a thing. Doctor, nurse, bring medicine from box number 22 and put 3 drops in his mouth. Lawyer, hey, that's kerosene. You gave me this last time. Doctor, congrats, your memory's back. That'll be $20. Now fuming, the lawyer came back one last time, determined to win the $100. Lawyer, Doc, my eyesight is so bad I can't see a thing. Doctor, I'm sorry, I don't have any medicine for that. Here's your $100. The doctor handed him a $20 bill. Lawyer, squinting, hey, wait, this is only $20, not a $100. Doctor, congrats, your eyesight's restored. That'll be $20. Husband, who is Valerie? Wife, nobody. I just wanted you to answer, to have confirmation that you saw my text. Husband, but I'm with Valerie right now. I thought you saw me. Wife, what? Where are you? Husband, near the neighborhood bakery. Wife, wait, I'm coming right now. After 5 minutes, his wife sends a message. Wife, I'm at the bakery, where are you? Husband, I'm at work. Now that you're at the bakery, buy the bread. An elderly couple, fresh off their 50th wedding anniversary, were sitting peacefully on the porch, each rocking in their chairs and reading. Out of nowhere, the wife reaches over and smacks her husband across the head, then calmly returns to her knitting. Stunned, the husband asks, "What was that for?" She replies, "That's for 50 years of less than stellar romance." He shrugs and goes back to his newspaper. A few minutes later, he puts it down, looks at her, and gives her a gentle whack on the head. Now she's the one shocked. "What was that for?" she asks. Without even looking up, he says, "That's for knowing the difference." Two guys were driving through a neighborhood when they spotted 2 dogs getting a little too cozy in someone's front yard. The driver chuckled and said, "That's exactly what my wife and I do every night." The passenger laughed and said, "Really? My wife's pretty traditional. How do you get your wife to do that?" The driver replied, "Just give her 2 drinks. Works like a charm." The next morning, the driver asked, "So, how'd it go?" The passenger grinned and said, Well, she was willing after 2 drinks, but it took 8 more to get her out on the front lawn.